Welcome to the Actor's Choice, where the actors and actresses have a chance to talk about themselves and their careers. Join us now for the next hour as we explore the marvelous industry of acting by actors and actresses from today's exciting show business world. And now, direct from Hollywood, here's your host, Ron Brewington.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ron Brewington, and welcome to the Actor's Choice. Roll it, Tony.
Hey, this is Chris Alexander. I'm a writer, director, composer, live music performer, magazine editor, publisher, an avid aficionado of film history, but specifically strange cinema, horror films, fantasy, the arcane, the surreal, the esoteric. That's my wheelhouse, and it has been since I've been aware that there was an...
Ladies and gentlemen, you have just seen a shortcut from my first guest. The gentleman is a companion. He's from Canada, and he's a director, musician, producer, and a writer. He's also the co-founder of the Toronto-based horror and cult film convention. Before you leave here today, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to hear some names such as Blood Destiny, Space Vampire, Full Moon, and a few others, okay? So, without further ado, get ready, folks, for my man, Chris Alexander. Okay, Chris, how you doing? Welcome to the Actor's Choice, man.
Oh, thanks for having me, man. It's good to be here, Ron. Thanks for making time for me. Yeah.
Probably we make a copy of this. We send a copy to you, get some IMDb credit. So we'll take
Great.
it.
Awesome.
Two questions I have for you.
Sure.
Where were you born?
Well, I'm born and raised in Toronto, which is where I am right now. So I was born just outside of the downtown core in Toronto, but in the 1970s, I came of age, and I've always loved weird stuff, man. I've always loved monsters and rock and roll. I fell in love with the band Kiss at an early age. I went to wax museums and just freaked out and collected comic books and Fangoria magazine. And years later, it was really hard to find because in Canada we didn't have the vast culture that we kind of barnacled off Americans, really, is what we did. And most of the movies I consumed were by adjusting my rabbit ears just so I could get Buffalo channels in and watch really weird stuff. So it's so funny that years later I became the editor-in-chief of Fangoria magazine out of New York, and I've been just doing all this stuff, again, since I fell in love with it since I was little in Toronto, and here we are today.
Yeah.
You in LA, me in Toronto, me partially in LA because I work out of LA, so I'm back and forth, and it's strange world, man. Strange, long, strange trip. Indeed.
Say that again. I spent on many times. I've been to Toronto for the film festival many times.
Right. Good city.
Marvelous town. Beautiful city.
Yeah.
Second question. Define horror.
That's a hard one because you got to think about it, right? Since cavemen been scratching on walls, we've been telling scary stories in the dark, mythological stories of what happens, before we're born, after we're dead. All the great mysteries, so horror is to me the great way to cloak truths about the human condition and fantasy, right? Kind of sugarcoating the pill. So defining the word horror is interesting to me because I'm a lover of cinema, all cinema. And the word horror really is kind of like a publicist's term to help sell an entertainment to a designated demographic, a mass marketed entertainment, in this case, movies. So what you may call horror, I don't necessarily call horror, or what I may call horror, you might not think of as a horror film. To me, though, what it all boils down to is, semantics of the name, whatever. Outside of that, it boils down to art that makes us confront some of these dark truths that I think society makes us push down a bit as we go through the journey of being alive. We try to forget or be blinded to some of these ugly truths. And the best horror films, what they do is really just hold up that mirror and make us confront the unconfrontable, but doing it in a safe, benign environment so that when we turn off the television or when the lights come up in the theater, we're safe and we can go out and live our life without being relatively unscathed.
Gotcha.
So the term horror, it's broad and it's subjective, but I think it all boils down to that: seeing the unseeable and confronting those arcane truths about being alive.
Okay. Tony, would you please show item 10, please, for just a second there? There you go, right there. There's a symbol.
That is a symbol, but that's funny because that's a C and an A.
Mm-hmm.
but it's kind of defines me because it also looks like a pentagram, so it looks like something that's usually associated with something perhaps a little bit sinister and supernatural and spectral. So it's like I'm evil, but I'm not really evil because the pentagram doesn't really close. So that's kind of my thing too, is that, I eat, sleep, and breathe horror films. I make horror films. I publish hundreds of horror film magazines. I write books about films. I speak on horror films. I teach horror film history in college. But this kind of weird stuff, as gory and bloody and spastic and strange as it is, has always helped me, I think, be a better kind of guy. I'm a single dad with three kids, I'm a dad. I drive a minivan. So I'm a nice guy, I think, by and large. And maybe horror movies kind of helped me be that a little bit. I
Right.
never did drugs. I've never been in a fight. So
Good.
yeah, so the pentagram is there, the artifice of evil is there, but it doesn't really close. So I'm not that bad.
Okay. Speaking of books, you got a new book out called Trash Terror. What's inside and
Art,
who's the
art, yeah,
author?
art, trash, terror, adventures in strange cinema. So I've been at this game professionally when I was a kid, and I loved all this stuff in Canada. I never thought in a million years I'd ever be, you'd read about directors like George Romero or Toby Hooper or Wes Craven. You never thought in a million years you would ever breathe the same air as these people did. Because to me, when I was a kid, they were not of this earth. They were mythological creators and special effects artists that were doing things that I didn't even understand. And lo and behold, life happened and I stuck the train stayed on the track and I became involved and ingrained in this industry. So for 25 years as a publicist with Warner Brothers Films, moving into journalism, moving into editing, moving into television, right, all the multimedia is my fingers in all media pies. I really kind of ingrained myself in the film industry and I met all my heroes, and developed relationships with them. So what this book is basically just a collection of thoughts, essays, if you will, reflections on some of the weirdest, wildest movies that I've seen, movies that are sometimes considered classics by and large, but are very often a little bit off the beaten path, maybe a little bit critically maligned in their time, a little bit forgotten or neglected. So these are ways for me to riff on these in a very kind of fun, intelligent, but not too academic or dull or stuffy way. And maybe hopefully get you turned on to some of these great movies that I adore, as well as conversations with the architects of these pictures. So the great directors, great actors, great thinkers, great writers, some who are no longer with us. I have this vast archive of great material that I culled from to make this book. So
How
it's
can I
a
get a
it's a
copy?
it's
How
a
can I get a
cinder
copy?
block, man. It's a
Yeah.
massive book, and we're
Uh-huh.
releasing it hopefully if the planets align and LA can calm down a little bit. I'll be in town on July 25th, 26th, yeah, uh, releasing it at Dark Delicacies in Burbank, doing a signing with some of my famous friends like Joe Dante, Anna Biller, and then moving on to the Cine Lounge. You showed the poster there on Sunset and screening a bunch of the movies that are featured in the book with some of the directors and actors from the pictures. So it's kind of a 2 day wild celebration, wild launch. But we'll see how it goes. I mean, it's just a book, man, right? And there's bigger things happening in the world. There's bigger things happening in Los
At this
Angeles.
moment, yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
open.
So if it happens, great. I'll see you there. If
Okay.
not, my heart is with my city, my home away from home, your city, LA.
Yes.
And I can't believe what's happening there at the moment. And it's you talk about what defined horror. I
Right.
mean, I think you're living it, man. So we'll see which way the pendulum swings.
Okay. Now, your history in horror filmmaking and media, how did you get your first fall in love with this strange stuff?
So I was a little boy, 3 years old. Two things happened. I remember them vividly. I can't remember if I can't remember if I locked the door at night, but I can remember all this stuff vividly. Um, my grandmother took me to Niagara Falls, Canada. Now, if you've been to Niagara Falls in the American side, you know what it is. But if you've been to the Canadian side, and you're a horror movie fan, it's a mecca for weird stuff. There's wax museums everywhere. There's haunted houses everywhere. And she took me into the House of Frankenstein, and it just shredded my soul as a kid. I could not believe what I was experiencing. I was screaming, hiding my eyes. And when we exited out of the wax museum, it spat me out into the gift shop, and they were playing the Carpenters' We've Only Just Begun on the Muzak. And I couldn't believe this dichotomy of being in the seventh circle of hell, opening a door, and then ending up in this benign universe. So there was that. And then there was discovering, honestly, the band Kiss in the library. Someone had misfiled a Kiss record in with the children's records. And my dad took me to the library and I was going through the records and I pulled out Love Gun and there was Gene Simmons from Kiss with fangs and bat wings and smoke all around him and vampire women swooning at his dragon boots. And again, I could not really understand my Freudian id was awoken. I couldn't understand what I was looking at. So it was that 1-2 punch of being bitten by this bizarre imagery that put me on the long road to happy ruin that I ended up going down.
Okay. Our screening event called Sunset is coming at what, 125 to 126?
Yeah, so it's the Art Trash Terror Strange Cinema Celebration at the Cine Lounge, the beautiful little micro cinema on Sunset there.
Yes.
Owned by my dear friend Camilla Mioli, a great filmmaker in her own right. And we do have several films scheduled. So we have all featured from my book. We have Stephen King's Graveyard Shift, came out in 1990, completely critically maligned by fans, by King himself, hated it. And I don't think it's ever gotten a fair shake. I've always loved the film. So I've got the director Ralph Singleton flying in for the event. I've got the writer John Esposito and the actor Andrew Divoff from the picture as well. They'll be joining me on the Saturday night to screen the picture and answer any questions from the audience. After that, we're screening William Lustig's disgusting 1980 slasher film Maniac, one of the most disturbing movies I've ever seen. And we'll be sitting down showing that picture and talking about it. The next day, I'm showing one of my own films, Necropolis Legion, at 4 p.m. We'll be bringing some of the cast up on stage to reflect and tell some crazy stories about the making of that insane movie, which is about a vampire ghost woman who actually feeds from her breasts. She doesn't have nipples. She has fangs on her chest. So yeah, it is what it is. And then later on in the evening, we're screening David Cronenberg's Rabid with the producer Don Carmody and finishing it off with one of the funniest, stupidest, wildest, most disgusting comedies of the 1980s, 1984's Night Patrol, which was kind of a really nasty R-rated Police Academy riff, directed by my friend Jackie Kong, who will be coming out to screen that movie too. So if all goes right, as I say, if things can settle down a little bit and maybe some of the balm for this horror that everyone's going through will be to escape and sit together in a dark room and enjoy strange cinema together. Maybe this will do some good to some people. I'm not sure. We'll see if it actually happens. You
Got
never
a picture
know.
that
Yeah.
I'd like you to see. Tony, can you put number 16 up for just a second? Here's a gentleman there.
Oh, that's my buddy. There's Joe. Joe will be at the signing at Dark Delicacies. That's Joe and I in 2023. Joe Dante, who directed The Howling and, of course, Gremlins, came out in 2023 to launch my previous book, Corman Poe, with the great Roger Corman, who sadly left us last year at the age of 98. But Joe will be there. If you want to see Joe, he'll be at Dark Delicacies to sign the book on 125 at 3 p.m.
Wow. Can you go to number 17, Tony? If you would, here's a picture of. Look at that picture now. Look at that. That's a
okay. Yeah, you know what? It's such nonsense, isn't it? It's all posturing, right? Look how serious I am. I am a serious person, obviously, but movies are fun. I collect. If I could flip this machine around and take you around a guided tour of my home, your jaw would hit the ground. I have an incredible collection of rare film prints. Literally film cans beautifully placed everywhere around my home. This vast library. I collect retro pinball machines from the 1970s and I restore them. And so we have this beautiful vintage arcade that my children and I live in. So we have all kinds of fun stuff. So yes, I'm a very serious person, but not really. That's just that picture is very funny to me when you when I see that I'm like, oh, stop. Yeah.
We promised a couple of films here. Tony, would you run number 17, Alpha?
Oh, Spaceman. This is a weird one. You can hear me when I can talk about this. This was during the pandemic. And I wanted to make a movie and I was making movies. And I literally took a 60mm camera, a toy camera, consumer cameras, and I just an actress poured into a black leather catsuit and just got as much hallucinatory imagery as I could. without any script. And I just to kind of get the idea of what it would be, riffing a bit on David Bowie's The Man Who Fell to Earth,
Yeah.
the idea of a stranger in a strange land that may or may not be some kind of vampiric thing. I didn't have any idea what I was doing. In fact, I didn't plan to make a movie at all with it. I just wanted to collect some imagery. But as I sat down to edit during the pandemic, I ended up chopping it up in an interesting way, composing a really interesting soundtrack and building this feature length music video, basically. Didn't expect I would screen it anywhere until a distributor came to me and said, look, we really love this thing and we want to put it out. So it's called Space Vampire. It's a movie, but it's not a traditional movie, if you know what I mean. It's more of an arts installation based around the idea of vampirism with multimedia. And it's as experimental as it gets, really.
How many horror films have you made so far?
Well, I got started in this deal again as a fan. And then as a wanting to make movies, and I went to film school, but I went before, video was a thing and we were making movies on film and it's very expensive. And here I am in Canada. There's no really resources. All my friends who left film school, not one of them's in the business. So I didn't know what to do with it. I ended up thinking I could, all media is the same. So I created a rock band that was an art rock band that I incorporated film into it, and I would tour that around. And then I wanted to write because I'm pretty good with words. I can wrangle words with some authority, and it was cheap. So I started writing about movies and got published, and then became a publicist and just grew my brand from there. Was not a filmmaker because it didn't seem possible for me to do until I started becoming more of a prominent writer. And then when I became the editor-in-chief of Fangoria magazine out of New York, the oldest and most respected horror film magazine in the world that I grew up reading, it opened up some doors for me. So I was able to get some money together and go out there and start making movies. That was 2012. So in that span, I've made 11 films. I'm a very prolific guy. We're only here for this blip, and I like to be as productive as I can. The spirit is always moving me to make something, to really speak my mind. So I'm very lucky that I have myriad medias to play around with to purvey that passion for cinema.
Got so many things you've done, my friend. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Which one have you done your biggest horror film? Biggest film you've done?
Like the biggest or favorite?
Okay, we'll take one first.
Okay, well, it's
yes.
Look, I have many mentors, many heroes, and I love all cinema, not just horror films. One of my favorite movies of all time is William Wyler's Ben-Hur, with Charlton Heston, who's probably my favorite actor. Don't really agree with what his politics were necessarily, but that's irrelevant. My favorite screen presence. So Ben-Hur's not a horror film at all. So I love all movies. But as far as movies I've made, that's a good question. I haven't made the big one yet, Ron. You know what I'm saying? One of my favorite directors is a guy named Jess Franco, a Spanish director who made hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of films. He is my favorite director, but I don't necessarily love all his movies, and I can't isolate one of them as being one of my favorite films. I love the body of work because you can see from film to film the passion, the absolute passion for making movies, for cinema, the knowledge of cinema. So I think instead of isolating one of my movies, what I always recommend to people, if they have some time on their hands and they would like to see things I've done, to at least watch 2 or 3 of them, because they're all interconnected in very weird ways, reoccurring characters, themes, music cues, locations, motifs. So it's hard for me to pull out one that I particularly think is amazing, but I will say that the last picture I made in 2023, Parasite Lady, is probably, I think, the apex of my talent. I wrote it, shot it, did all the music for it, lit it, cut it, everything. And it is the most pure, I think, of all the weird little movies I've made. So maybe Parasite Lady might be my favorite.
Chris, I hate to do this. We got to ask you to come back again. We ran
anytime.
I can taste that our guests like what they saw. Let me say thank you, your publicist, my dear good friend, Philip Sokolov, for having you here today. We want to get you back again. Okay.
Well, thanks so much. Listen, and again, parting words. Again, my heart is with each and every one of you right now. The eyes of the world are on you, and we're hoping for that everything gets an upper hand, and soon, and that business can go. The show must go on, and the show will go on. So, and on that note, the show must go on for you. So I will bid you adieu.
You do. Best
All
wishes
right.
and keep on coming.
Hey, man.
Ladies
Take
and
care.
gentlemen,
All right.
Chris
Take care.
Alexander.
All
Again,
right, guys.
take care.
Bye-bye.
This is the Actor's Choice. I'm your host, Ron Brewington. Roll it, Tony. My next select guest today comes with a super background and a Famoose Native American. In fact, she's so thrilled to be thrilling this story up with this team. And by the way, she's a multidisciplinary artist who has a passion for producing, acting, and writing her own work. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Harriette Feliz. How you
It's good to
doing?
be here. Hi, Ron.
Good to see you. My
I'm glad
God.
to see your face almost in
You took the
person.
words out of my mouth. I said, look at that pretty, who's that pretty lady sitting up there? Can you please tell us where you were born?
Yeah, so I was born in New York City. I lived there for about a year and a half, and then my family moved to Maryland, which is where my mom is originally from. So I grew up in the country of Maryland, but city girl at heart.
Now, you are a Chumash Native American. Explain that, please.
Yeah, so I am part of the Chumash tribe. That's a California tribe, so actually really close to where I live right now in Los Angeles. So we're the southern part of Malibu all the way up to San Luis Obispo, which is where my family is from. Um,
Uh-huh.
we, during once the Spaniards came in and sort of pushed the Native Americans north, my family moved north to Redwood City. So my father was born in San Francisco, but I have some very natural California roots, and I've been able to really explore that living back here in California.
And you say your father is what is his father? His background.
He's a Chumash Native American. So
And your
yeah,
mother?
so I'm sorry.
And your mother? What is her
My
background?
mother is a white lady. She is German and Irish, baby. So we got a little bit of everything.
I'm just thinking with two stories there. Here, your father's feeling one food, and your mother's doing another food. Oh,
Absolutely. Very, very different
yes,
cuisines, but I grew up with a lot of yummy foods. Let me tell you, sauerkraut and enchiladas. You wouldn't think they go together.
right, right. Tony, would you please give us number 34? This is the first IMDb that you did. You've done a lot of work, but this is your first one that you did called Missing.
Yeah, missing. Wait, the project?
Yes, Roger, you've done.
Yeah, just a nice short film that I got to be a part of. Um,
Uh-huh.
I really love doing shorts because it gets you to get connected with other artists that are multidisciplinary. Something that I think artists and Native Americans have in common, and a thing that is so great about Native American artists is that we're naturally storytellers. Our traditions are orally passed down. Our history is passed down that way. We, just capture a room and want to tell those stories. So for actors, especially these days, I'm sure you know, Ron, we have to be multidisciplinary. We have to create our own work. We have to tell our own stories. So Native American people are just so posed to do that already.
Mhm. Yeah, so many. I wish we had more time because of what you're talking about. The Indian. Tell us from a point of view. Are there a lot of men still in Native men or Native women? Who's getting the jobs these days?
It's always men have more, always.
Good.
That's why I think this project is so exciting because it's for Native women. Um,
Yes.
and the director is a Native woman, the playwright is a Native woman. We are surrounded by Native women, which is such a cool experience and one that, I haven't been a part of to this capacity of really a room that's taking care of each other and listening to each other and anticipating each other's needs, and also this amazingly creative space to be able to uh, bounce ideas off of each other and maybe find something that somebody else didn't see. But it's such a safe space because we are Native and because we have that initial bond.
I got an opportunity to pick up let's see, Fort Peck, Montana border on May 5th, 2020. Can you show us that, Tony?
I'm sorry, say that?
This was a It was the actual situation over at the Montana border on May 5th, 2020. You can see that picture. Those are Native ladies that's
Yes.
trying to make it known who they are, to let people know who they are. That, every ethnic group, everybody has to know, should know, and will know. That's the way I feel about it.
Absolutely. And I mean, Native women have to take care of each other in this really
Yes.
specific way. And this is what our play is about, is the missing Native women and
Mhm.
how Native women are the ones talking about this. It's an epidemic. More than 5,700 Native American women have gone missing in this country. How are we not talking about that?
Yes.
There aren't that many of us.
Yes. MMIW.
Missing and murdered Indigenous women.
That's what they call Indigenous women. Yeah, and you say to yourself, what's wrong here? Why are we doing this? I mean, remember who was in this country first?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think right now we are vulnerable communities.
Yes.
We have been pushed out. We were enslaved to build the missions in California specifically. My ancestors helped build the San Luis Obispo mission. They didn't do that because they wanted to. They had to. They were forced to by the Spaniards. And that's just something that really isn't taught in our schools. It's kind of wild. And so you have to do your own research. And this is a journey that I've been on in my adult life, because those resources aren't just handed to you. You have to learn, you have to actively want to learn about that.
Good. When people ask you where you're from, I tell people where I'm from. I always, as a joke, sometimes, where you from, Mom? I always say my mama, but that's just a joke.
Not wrong, Ron.
You're doing a play right now. I understand
Yes.
it's coming out in February.
Yes.
It's called Four Women in Red. Can you tell us about the play? A synopsis, please.
Yeah, so this play is so close to my heart. I was just with our group last night. We have some really strong performers and artists that are a part of it. This play is about missing Native American women and their family members that are left behind looking for them. Specifically the women that are left behind looking for them, and the women that won't give up until we have answers and are demanding answers. Every character in this play is so that has such a fire, has such a desire for the truth, even if we know it may not be a good thing at the end of the day.
Yes.
Because usually when people go missing, we don't get a happy ending, but we want answers and we're demanding them.
Go ahead.
And
Go ahead.
this play is just important right now.
Why the unique color, red?
Red is the color that the spirits can see. It lights the way back to the earth, and it's just a symbol of the blood spilt by our Native American ancestors and by the missing women.
Interesting. Now I understand when this show does get on the stage, there's going to be free tickets for the Kumish women.
There are free tickets for all Native Americans. So if we have Native people out there who would like to see the show, please get them in contact with us. We absolutely want to make sure that is accessible for every Native American, because this story is for them.
You got quite a playwright who wrote this play, I'm told.
Laura Shamus is just such a delight. She is a wealth of knowledge and at the same time so poetically beautiful and kind. Her soul is beautiful and kind, and so is she. I just can't say enough of great things about Laura. She just makes the room a little bit brighter every time she's there.
Well, all I can say is I'm glad that we met. I see that you have a lot to do with the Native Indian movement. I say it loud, keep on doing it. And if doing it for play is one way to get the message out there, why not?
Let's do it. Let's use what we can do, right? I am useless other than my art, so I'll try it.
I say don't stop. Keep on pushing. And thank your publicist, my dear friend Lucy Pollard, for making it possible for you to be here today. And may God bless you in what you're doing. Thank you, Ron. I will. Lucy's the best. I appreciate your time. My pleasure, man. My pleasure. This is our Actor's Choice. I'm your host, Ron Brewington. Roll it, Tobin. Take care.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to psychometrically read one of you through an object I'm holding in my hand.
Ladies and gentlemen, when he was in his teens, our next guest today was amongst a dozen few selected to be a member of the Magic Castle's junior program. Interesting. Well, he went there and became a regular performer, I'm told, at the world-famous Magic Castle for over 40 years. That's 40. That's a long, long time. Now, he has performed, this gentleman has regularly performed at Las Vegas's Caesar Magical Empire during its tenure from 1996 all the way to 2002. Not, as we say in the business, not bad at all. Okay. He's known all around the world, ladies and gentlemen. So without any further ado, please welcome magician and actor, George Tovar. George.
Hi, how you doing?
How you doing, man? Thank you and coming in today. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the Actor's Choice. My first question is, where were you born?
I was actually born in New York, the Bronx.
Where?
I don't Elder and Washington. Wait, Elder, what was Elder Avenue? I don't know. I was a kid. We moved out here when I was 8 to California. So
okay. I asked that question because I was born in New York and home.
Oh, there you go.
And
Wow.
my brother he went to school at where some high school he went through there in the Bronx.
My elementary school was
Cotton
93.
Yes,
And when I was doing a play in New York, I was doing a play at the AMT Theater. I went back and visited the old neighborhood. It was crazy to go back.
Good.
Yeah. It was wild.
I hope and pray before I leave this earth that I get a chance to go back to, because I don't get a chance to travel that much, but I will be taking a chance and going back to New York City to say, as we had an expression, the city's so nice, they named it twice. The city's so pretty, they call it New York City. I can say about it. You what made you get into the magic business?
I just always liked it since I was a kid, and I just practiced since I was 9. And then I was fortunate enough to get into the Magic Castle, which is a kind of like a big deal in the magic world. When I was 17, and I apprenticed with the top magicians in the world, and decided to make it my career while I was a struggling actor. So there you go.
And like you say, you're an actor as well as a magician.
Right.
I understand you're from 1987. That was your first job, a TV job. Mr. Belvedere. That was a show you did.
That's it. My first, My first network show, as they say. I did a couple of soap operas before that, but yeah.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful. Another thing is, what do you have to do to get to the top in this business?
You talking about magic? Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's just putting yourself out there. I've been practicing my act. I've been doing it professionally since I was 21, at least, and it's just a lot of practice and getting out there, and I get a lot of recommendations from previous customers. So, and that works a lot.
And then came AI.
Oh, right, exactly. I didn't do any. I tell you, it's out there. All this stuff's out there, and I don't know. I like magic live. That's what I specialize in, really up close and live magic. And I still think it's the best form in the magic world.
How did the partnership between you both came together with Theater West to create Millennium Magic?
Well, with Theater West, I was a member. I've been a member there since I want to believe like 92 is when I joined the company as an actor. Right. And then by the time 1990 came along, I was actually chairman of our board of directors. And we were looking for ideas for fundraisers. And I said, hey, look, I've got a lot of friends over at the Magic Castle. It's right around the corner from Theater West. And I said, I could probably, one weekend put on a show, ask some favors of friends, and we can raise some money that way. And the tradition's been going on almost interrupted, except for COVID, since 2000. And that's why it became the name Millennium Magic. We was coming into the Millennium, big thing. And I said, let's call it the Millennium Magic Show. And then we went on from there.
I see we have a benefit on 44. There you go.
There it is.
Millennium Magic.
That's it.
That's it.
And we used to go by the numbers, but then we got kind of out of touch there with we used to go Millennium Magic 1, 2, whatever, always in like a Roman numeral. But with the COVID interruption, it got all confusing. I said, let's just name it Millennium Magic and the year that it's in. This year, it's Millennium Magic 2025.
The most rewarding thing about doing MM, as they call it.
Well, it's just first of all the show and the generosity of my friends in the magic world coming out to donate their time
Yes.
and putting on the show, and but also the response from the audience. It's become kind of an annual event that people look forward to at Theater West every year, and then it brings money into our theater company to help the general funds and put on a season of shows and things like that. So it's kind of my way of giving back to the theater every year. I have a co-host, Jeanine Anderson. She's been helping me out. I mean, not helping me out. She's been part of the show, producing it for like the last, I don't know, I want to say 8 years or so. So we have a good time doing it. I'm the MC. I invite my friends on, and we put on a good show for kids and adults alike.
Name some of the past magicians that you've worked with over the years.
Oh my gosh, I've worked with like pretty much everybody because like I've been in the business so long. But the thing is with magic, other than the big names of say Copperfield and Blaine and all those guys, a lot of those names aren't recognized in the I guess the population, the community. Now with AGT and America's Got Talent and Fool Us, they're starting to get some more recognition around the world with the magic talents. But uh, I mentioned names that you probably wouldn't recognize them.
Try me. Try me.
Great. Okay, John Carney.
No, I said try me.
Okay, John Carney.
Yeah, never heard that guy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Goldfinger and Dove, great
Gotcha.
classic magician,
Yeah.
world famous, but it's in the magic world kind of a thing.
Exactly. Exactly. It's these magicians when they walk in place, they pull things from their ears. They do all kind of strange things. What do you get out of it when you do all that stuff?
Oh, look, I've been an actor and a magician since I was a kid. All that stuff, and it's a way of performing. I'm still performing. I'm playing a part, and I enjoy that performing aspect of it. Yes, creating the magic and all that stuff, but it's still a way of performing. So I've been very lucky. It's taken me around the world, cruise ships, Vegas, everything. I've just done it all. Worked for high corporations. I worked for
Yeah.
all kinds of events, and it's been a very good world, and I enjoy what I do.
Yeah, that's a good sign. Being an actor, that among other things too. We just happen to have a small video. This shows this is an acting reel. I saw that once. Let's put that on the show. Okay.
Oh,
Mr. Wolf, I'd like to suggest we move your children back to the main building for both their safety and comfort. Have you called the police yet?
NCIS
Notify the authorities. They're on their way, but please, Mr. Wolf, I need you to remain calm.
I moved away for a little while,
folks.
and when I got
Sorry
back, it was
about
one
the
of the first
wait.
gigs I got.
My usual staff didn't show up
This is the
tonight.
Days of Our Lives thing, which is
Are you
was
the
nice.
owner?
It's good people
would be
on that
me.
set. That was great.
We're looking for an employee of yours.
Yeah, there were good
Young
people
man
on that
named
set.
Trip.
Very nice. Well, thanks for putting that up. Yeah.
Bet you. When you say what you do for a living, we have to put it in front of you. What are some of the places that you have performed a mission? Like, for example, okay, with this thing that's going on now with all the fire, have you been called on to help a lot of people out?
Not yet. I was hoping that this wouldn't be a problem doing this show because I was out without internet for like 5 days. Now, in the big scheme of things, that's not a big. I mean, some people have lost so much, and we're feeling for them. Theater West is trying to figure out a way that we can contribute and help. In fact, we're having a meeting about that in a few days or so, and it's just heartbreaking the loss some people have had. And in fact, some fellow Theater West members have lost their homes in the Palisades, and it's heart-wrenching. And but yeah, we're looking for ways to kind of help out. I think we've already put in a plan for the firefighters and all the emergency, the EMT people to attend this Millennium Magic Show, no charge at all. I think we've just put that out in a newsletter or a publicity thing to give back a little bit. But yeah, it is heartbreaking. And I've been lucky so far. I'm out in the Simi Valley area, and the winds haven't blown this way, but it could happen. We're having another major wind event, which could, turn it around and it'll go in our direction, which, you've got to be packed and ready to go if we get the warning. So I'm wishing the best for everybody, and my condolences to people who've lost and all that. So it's very hard. It's part of living in LA, though.
Amen. Amen. While I was reading about you, I see that you used to be on ships. Is that true?
On what?
You used to be on ships.
Yes, cruise ships. I did quite a bit of work on Crystal Cruise Line, Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines, and I loved it. It was a great way to see the world and then do what I do for a living and be paid for it. And it's been very fortunate, man. It was a really good time working on the ships, and it's kind of I want to say an easy gig because I'm out there sometimes for 7 days. I work 1, 2 nights and then I'm done, and the rest of the time I'm a passenger, and I love it. It's a good world. It's a good world.
George, I hate to say this, but I have to tell you this. You said you were on a ship. So was I, my friend. I was in.
Yes.
Yes, except that we were United States Navy.
Oh, thank you for your service, by the way. I really do.
I was in the Navy,
Appreciate
22
that.
years plus.
Every time I can, I say thank you for your service because I've never been a member of the armed forces, but I thank anybody who's done that. So thank you, sir, for your service.
Thank you. Thank you. What gives you the most satisfaction about performing magic?
It sounds, I'll be honest with you, it sounds kind of hokey and it's kind of a standard.
Hit me.
I love the wonder I see in people's eyes when I'm performing. And what I say by that, I mean is for a moment, we put on masks. I know what's going on. I'm not going to show that. But that one moment when I fool somebody with something really bad, you could see their eyes just go, I have no idea. And they almost believe it's magic or Santa Claus. You know what I'm saying? It's that first, and then the mask comes down and they go, oh, yeah, okay, that's interesting and this and that. But it's kind of funny to just, I love that moment of creating this wonder in people's eyes. And it still fulfills me. And I like I said, I love what I do and creating it's not just the sleight of hand stuff, but also the patter, the performance and all that stuff. And, it's great. It's a lot of fun.
Got one more video for you before you get out of here. This was taken from clips that we did. Can you roll that, Tony?
Oh, yeah. I think
they end up in a standoff.
Oh, that was a good
one. This is interesting.
It was about magicians.
The way I see it, we got two options. No, three.
A good friend of mine, a director named
Just thought of a third.
Was shot in 2001.
One, we could start shooting, in which case we probably both get killed. Two, we leave the money and both get
men and that whole world around the Magic Castle. And that was a good role. That was a lot of fun to do. And in that shot was a guy who played Jackie Jr. on the Sopranos series, Jason Sudeikis. We became good friends after that shoot, by the way.
Oh,
yeah, that brought back memories. That was great.
That's one thing about this business. When you get a chance to work with people, and then you have a chance to meet them years later, and you just, hey, don't I remember you or something like that. I enjoy this. This is a fun job. I really enjoy meeting all the people that we do.
It's a lot of fun to meet, and they're good people, and they become friends. Even though you might not see them for a while, they become good friends.
Right. Let's see. What do you have to do to get? I hope I didn't ask this already. What do you have to do to get to the top? I mean, you're always trying to get a job.
As an actor and as a magician, you're just constantly putting yourself out there and networking. And it's a little bit different because I don't have to audition as a magician. Like I said, I get a lot of my work from word of mouth. People know me. I've been in this industry a long time, and it's and cliche again, practice for magicians. You gotta, keep it up. I'm learning new tricks today, and it may take a couple years to get into my act, but I work on them all the time. So
let me slip this one to you because this is something that I do all the time. When I talk to a lot of stars, male or female, doesn't matter, I get upset at a little point that we have. Everybody comes here to LA, Hollywood, they want to be a star. Nothing wrong with that. I have no problem with that. But when you say, would you please get up on that stage? They don't do that. They'll do television, they'll do film, but they won't get up on that stage. What's going on here?
No. I love doing theater. And in fact, I did a show, like I told you, in New York a couple of years ago, and it was like my lifelong dream. It was at the AMT Theater, a show called Our Man in Santiago. And it was a show that started at Theater West, and we brought it out to off-Broadway, and it was a thrill of a lifetime. I mean, it was one of my, I lived in New York for about 11 weeks. That's when I got to see my old home, and what a great feeling. It was like a lifelong dream to be in a town working. And New York's tough to live in, but working and enjoying it and performing 6 nights a week. It was 5 nights a week, and it was a great show. One of my all-time experiences. And I'll tell you a dream from a kid. As an actor, we get the plays, and the first cast that appeared, blah blah blah. Well, our play got published, and I'm on that page saying the first production of this was starring this, and and it was like a lifelong job. I tell you, I go, man, I always thought about it as a kid actor, young actor, and there I was. I'm on a printed, play script of it.
What's your favorite magician trick? Your favorite.
Oh, there's just so many, but I'm kind of known for my sleight of hand thing. Do we have time? Can I show you a quick
Please,
trick?
by all means.
I'll do a quick little trick for you. I hope it plays on camera. It involves a handkerchief and an empty hand. I'd like you to notice it goes into the hand red, but it comes out the bottom yellow. That's it. It's that simple. In red, out yellow, more yellow. Here's the hard part, Ron. It's that tip. See, that goes in red, but it doesn't come out the bottom yellow. That tip comes out the top yellow. This is what we call the red handkerchief trick. I hope that read on camera. I'm not sure.
That's
not a big magician on camera, like I said, but
because people always they do everything. Like for example, putting a woman in a box, closing it up, and cutting it.
Now, floating the lady, all that stuff. Yeah, I don't do that sort of stuff. I'm more of what's called an intimate or close-up performer. That's what I've done. I specialize in. I work a lot of parties where I'm strolling around and doing magic, and I can do some stage stuff, but it's not what I expertise in. I'm an expert in. But our show, Millennium Magic, we get all of it. We get the comedian guy, the mind reading guy, the guys who do the big illusions, all in this one show. And what's great about it is, for that weekend, I have 4 different acts on every day of the show. It's not the same act Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Sunday's a matinee. I get 4 different guys for each, or 4 different people for each show. And there's 4 acts per show. So that's like 12 guys who I'm getting to kind of donate their time and perform. And it's a great show. We get a lot of kids and adults, and like a lot of repeat. They go, oh wait, we can't wait till this year. What's going to be the lineup this year? And it's just been a real treat to do it. And I have a great time hosting it. And my rule is this, because these guys are donating. If they've got to cancel for a gig, I get it. I'm ready to kind of step in and do my set in case somebody. And I've only had it happen once out of like 20. I think it's our 23rd version. Only once that somebody had to cancel and I had to step in. But I tell them, you're doing me a favor. I'm not going to inconvenience. You get a gig that's paying you money because they're donating their time. I said, don't worry about it. No, there won't be no recriminations at all. Nothing. I'll just try to get you the next time. And it works out great. It's been really good.
Have you written a book about this?
No, I haven't. I'm not really, not a writer. My only creativity comes in like working on my act. I'm not a writer type guy. I admire writers, guys who write plays, all that stuff. It's great. And my writing comes from my performing, I guess. That script that I do when I'm performing, that's about the close I get to writing.
Like people always say to me, I always pick those. For some odd reason, I'm a double person there. And I've always said, write a book. So I'm on one of these days, I keep putting it off. I'm gonna write a book.
Well, you should. And I tell that to these, I hang out a lot with a lot of magicians, and some of the older ones. I go, man, please tell your story. It's great. And not just for magicians, people, the story of, how you're doing in this business and all that. And I always tell people that. I guess I'm getting of the age now that I do have some stuff to pass along. I tell some younger kids, I give them some advice if I can. In fact, I'm doing something at the Magic Castle where I'm helping younger magicians out by talking about what I do. And that's passing along the information, next generation, all that stuff. But
yeah, okay, because I was going to ask you about that passion about a lot of young people who want to get into the business, and you have specialties for them to come and get some training. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, I mean, I always told kids, books and things like that. I used to give lessons and things like that. But I got to tell you, with the internet now and all that, it's all out there on the internet. A lot of times there's a place to go to do the internet. It's just that I think it loses a little in the sense of like in the old days when I was reading books. By reading a book, you really kind of put your own into it instead of just mimicking by watching a video. A lot of times with videos, I find that you just mimic. But once you're in a book learning magic,
yes,
and maybe this is just such old-fashioned thing, but that's the way I was raised on it. You got to put yourself into it. You read, but then you translate and put yourself into it. And I think it's a fascinating way to learn, so that's my old view. So
George, all I can say is one thing. You've
Yes, sir.
done it. You've done it again. Great show that you put together, sir.
Thank you very
come
much. I
back again.
appreciate this
And
interview. Appreciate it.
Definitely. Please give my best to my good friend, Philip Sokola.
Oh man, he's a good man. I've been working with him for over 20, no, more than that. He's just the greatest guy in the world. But I'll pass it along. Ron?
You do know he's an actor.
Oh, absolutely. No, he was in a play that I was in at Theater West. He was a character in one of the plays I did at Theater West. It was called Petrified Forest. He was great. He's great. He's a great guy.
Ladies and gentlemen, George Tovar. Thank you very, very
Talking,
much.
Ron. All the best to you. Take care.
All right.
Thank you.
Much thanks to our guest today, Canadian director, producer, writer, film critic Chris Alexander, actress, producer Harriette Feliz, and choice is an actor, magician, George Tovar. The Actor's Choice is a presentation of B&B Productions. Rudolph Brewington is the president. And special thanks go to our ever-growing audience. I'm Ron Brewington. See you next time.